So now we've passed mid-February and the weather seems to be opening up a little bit. Lately it's been nothing but rain here in South Wales, but today the sun is actually making a little bit of an appearance in and out of the clouds. So I've been out just having a little bit of a change about, and I want to take you around and show you one thing that I want to get done today, and also one or two things that I've already done. So let's go and I'll show you about. So one of the plants that I want to have a look at is right here, and I've got a lovely camellia here, and it's along the back of the garage, so it's quite shaded and it's near the wildlife pond, but we are quite limited for space here. Now, I didn't realise when I planted this lovely camellia just how big this was going to grow, and I was looking it up last night, and I know that this is going to grow to a few metres. And I think it would be better in another part of the garden, somewhere where it can flourish and somewhere with a little bit more space. And I've got just the right place for this down the other end of the garden there. I think it'll look quite nice down there. Alright, so I have been using this spade today, hence why it's a little bit dirty. And I'm going to see if I can get this camellia out of the ground. So it's been in for a few years. I think it's going to be quite well rooted, and I want to get as much of the root ball up as I can. So I'm going to work my way around the plant. Just loosening it. Oh, it seems to be coming up easier than I thought. And I have got a little bit of a plan for this area. There's one plant that I want to pop in here instead, so I'm trying to be very careful not to step inside the wildlife pond, which is something that Tony did not long ago. Right, I think that may be loose enough. So let's get in here. It was heavier than what I thought. Oh, that's a big plant. Bigger than what I was expecting. So let's get this down the other end of the garden. Right, so I had already dug a large hole. And it is at the correct deepness. But I just need just a few little tweaks. I think it just needs to come over this way a little bit. So I'm putting it here as it's got plenty of room in this area, but it's still also quite protected. So it's in a corner of the garden here, and it's also got this large Euphorbia John Phillips just to protect it from the afternoon sun. So let's lift this now into the planting hole and get it as even as I can, or as level as I can. Now ideally I would like to add into this a little bit of ericaceous compost, as these are acid loving plants, but I have run out from when I planted my rhododendron the other week. And the plan is just to get this at the correct level. Now you don't want to go too deep. I think that actually looks okay there. So I'll just backfill that. And then we'll come back and I'll show you once it's all in. And some of that soil that I dug out, I'm just going to be adding into that hole that I made there, ready to plant something else. So be careful with the ferns. Let's see if I can get this earth in there. And spread it all around. Right, now to plant something in that space. So now it's in, I'd better give it a good water just to settle in the roots. And I think it'll do a lot better here. So when I go to the garden centre next, I will just pick up a bag of ericaceous compost and just fill it up a little bit around the bottom. I don't want to plant it too deeply, but it'll be okay at the moment. Lovely. So I was up early this morning, just ready to prepare the triangular bed, and I had to clear it all and just have a general tidy up around the garden, and hopefully the camellia will settle in really well there. And as the plum tree grows, it should have a little bit of shade from the leaves of that as well. So a win-win situation. Fingers crossed, it'll be okay. And looking now at the very bottom of the garden on the triangular bed, you can see there that camellia, I think, will fit in really well there. And there's plenty now of space for it to grow. And that Virginia red robin that I planted there is settling in really well on the end of the bed. I do like that there. Beautiful. So coming out now into the garden, you can probably notice that at the back there I've planted the new plant that I purchased last week from B&M, and that's the Nandina Blush Pink. Now looking around the garden, you'll know that not long ago I popped this Pittosporum on the end of the new bed just to add a little bit of colour. And I love purple in the garden. And going back to what I was saying, is planting by doglegging, which is just popping plants of similar types and colours opposite each other. And what I've done here now is, as you go down the garden, you'll notice that where that camellia was, there's another purple plant there, and that's another Pittosporum. I love these plants, and these ones are the Bano Bay. So they're a little bit larger than the Tom Thumb. So I've watered that in now, and it has got some lovely dark red foliage. And it'll also mean that these ferns here now can grow a little bit larger, as they were a little bit squashed really when the camellia was there. And talking about loving purple flowers in the garden, just look at these lovely hellebores. They really are looking absolutely wonderful at the moment. And these are a few years old now, and every year they come back with lovely purple blooms. We have had some bad weather, and I noticed that all my yogurt pots, or a lot of my yogurt pots, are around the garden, and they need to be popped back on to the top of my mousses. Just look at that there. And there's a little leaf just growing out of the top already. So a few more weeks and I'll be unwrapping these as soon as the weather warms up and the risk of heavy frost disappears. But they are surviving under there, as there's definitely new growth pushing through. But for now, time to pop the pots back on top. And the tetrapanax is showing signs of spring, and there's new growth just popping through there. And at the moment, we've got one lonely daffodil in the garden. And being a Welsh garden, it's a must-have flower to have. Technically, not tropical at all, but it's definitely got to have a place in a Welsh garden. There's a few more just popping up in the planting scheme, and hopefully they'll be out in time for March the 1st, which is St David's Day here in Wales. And it's wonderful to see some signs of spring just popping up in the garden. There's spring bulbs and daffodils now showing, and hopefully the weather will soon start warming up. So I hope you've enjoyed watching me replanting my camellia today, and until next time, I'll see you all soon. Bye for now.